Welcome to the University of Tennessee Research Foundation session on technology transfer for pending graduates. I'm Richard Magid, Vice President for the UT Research Foundation office at the UT Health Science Center. And let me start by congratulating you on getting to the point where you're considered a pending graduate, which means that you're near the end of your thesis or dissertation work. If you remember nothing else from this session, I just want you to remember to contact UTRF anytime to talk about the intellectual property and commercial potential of your research. Contact us, before publishing your dissertation, before you present your work at a conference, and before you submit any abstracts. It's critical that you work with us to protect your idea before it's presented to the public. I'll get back to this later on, but if there's one thing to take away, this is the message that I'd like to get across to you. Starting at a little bit of more of a broad picture, what is technology transfer? What is it that UTRF, that myself and my team do? At a core, our goal is to move knowledge and inventions from the university to an external partner in order to bring new products to market. What our goals are is to find commercial partners for inventions and discoveries at the university, and specifically to find partners that are strongly committed to developing a product, that have the necessary resources to develop that product. And by resources, we typically mean both the cash, the financial resource, but also the personnel resources. It takes a lot of expertise to bring a drug, vaccine, medical device, diagnostic to market. And so you need to have, or a partner needs to have the right people either on staff as employees or available to them, through their network of expert resources. And then finally, we're not in the business of giving our work away when there's commercial potential. We want someone that's willing to pay the university a fair price for the invention or discovery that's been made here. You've invested hundreds to thousands of hours. Your PI has also put in a ton of time. There's been a lot of grant funds. The university has built buildings and resources. There's been a lot of investment to generate these discoveries. And by making a little bit of profit on their commercialization, it's one way that we can, get some money back to reward everyone for their work coming up with these technologies. In terms of what can be an invention, we like to say that almost anything can be an invention. And I've got here, a few examples of inventions that have come to market out of the health science centers. So, research tools such as, new antibodies, new dyes for, histology, fluorophores, chemical markers, things like that. Clinical biomarkers. Obviously, sort of the classic things like new medical devices, new drugs, new diagnostic assays. But it doesn't have to be something entirely new. You can also have come up with, a novel use for existing technology, a new use for a medical device, a new use for a drug, etc. Something that's coming up more and more these days is software development, even in the health sector. This could be research software or clinical decision-making software or other types of software. But software can also be an invention. And then finally, something that you may have developed during your work and not really be thinking as an invention are transgenic animals or new cell lines, right? These may have been things that you had to develop just to get your work done, but they also have market value because once you've gone through the effort of developing it, it's likely that there are other people working either in the same field or in an adjacent field that would also like, that transgenic animal or that cell line. And there are many companies whose business model is distributing these types of things, to other researchers. So as I said, all of these have different paths to market, but, we'd like to know about all of them and that they all have been commercialized, by UTRF in recent years. why, I mentioned earlier, about, financial return. So this is actually the specific policy that the University of Tennessee works under. On the upfront side, the investment side, if UTRF takes a project on for commercialization, we cover all expenses, the patent costs, any other legal fees, any marketing fees, et cetera. And if we make money, then you'll make money. And this table outlines specifically how. But as you can see on the share for the inventors in orange, from $0 to $5,000 of gross revenue, we give it all to the inventors. So the first little bit of money that comes in goes straight back to the inventors. Above that, there's more of a sharing between the inventors, the campus, both the department that you're working in and the campus itself, and then UTRF. We use our share at UTRF to reinvest into the next generation of inventions to pay for those patent costs, legal fees, et cetera, that I mentioned before. And there's a slight tweak to the formula if you've really got a home run, generating more than $1 million. But I do want to point out that there's absolutely no cap on this. At no point have you earned out and stop receiving checks. If as long as your work is receiving checks, then you'll be continue to receive checks. I mentioned at the start, contact us anytime. And the reason that's critical is because public disclosure immediately causes the loss of foreign patent rights, so outside the United States. And it also immediately creates a substantial risk to your U.S. patent rights. There is an allowable, sort of a grace period between only in the U.S. When you publicly disclose your invention and when you're allowed to still seek a patent. But the problem is, as soon as you publicly disclose your invention, people know about it, people can start working on it, and frankly, they can take your idea, improve on it, and still beat you back to the patent office, effectively blocking you from commercially developing your own idea. And so, by being first to the patent office, you really place yourself in the prime position to secure the most rights and to be able to attract a partner and ultimately profit going forward. When it comes to public disclosures, that's sort of the core of what we're talking about here. Theses and dissertations are absolutely public disclosures, and it's been established through the legal system that nobody even has to read them. As soon as a dissertation is published and indexed and theoretically available for someone to read, it is now considered published. It does not require that it's actually been accessed by anyone or reviewed or referenced or anything like that. The simple fact of making it available is sufficient to cause a public disclosure in the eyes of the legal system and the patent system. Other forms of public disclosures include publications, poster sessions that are open to anyone. Abstracts even can be considered a public disclosure. There are different formats to abstracts. The really short, 100-word, 150-word type abstracts typically don't have enough detail to be considered a enabling public disclosure. But there are longer format abstracts, where it's a full page or where you're allowed to even put in a figure or two. Those are almost like mini publications, and therefore they also will be, looked at potentially as public disclosures. Clearly, a conference presentation, whether you're making a platform talk or presenting at the poster session, those are public disclosures. And frankly, any personal communication where there's no expectation that the party you're sending material to is going to keep it confidential, can be considered a public disclosure. And then, if you happen to have a lab website, or maybe you're active on, scientific social media, if you post, too much there, it can also be considered a public disclosure. So, almost anything that, gets sort of the details of your work out into the public domain, can be considered a public disclosure. So this is what I started with. This is what I want to come back to, which is contact us anytime. If you think that there's something in your work, or you simply want to talk to us about the commercial potential of your work, we're always happy to do that. That's the fun part of our job, is learning about new things, talking to scientists, seeing, what's at the cutting edge of research. So we always love talking to you, and we can walk through, what you've done, and maybe what publications or, how you're planning to publish the work. And, if it's the right technology, we can develop a plan to, protect it on the commercial side while allowing you to go forward, with all the publications that you need to advance your scientific career. Because ultimately, we do not want to stand in the way of that. We recognize that, you have to get graduated, you have to get publications. That's how you're going to advance professionally. And so, we fit the commercial side into, your scientific and professional advancement. In terms of working with UTRF, we try to keep it pretty straightforward. Of course, it starts with you the inventor, and the form we use is called an Invention Disclosure. It's online at idea.tennessee.edu, and essentially is going to ask you a few basic questions. Describe what you've done, who else was involved. How was it funded? Was it government grants or private grants or industry funded? Have you already presented it? What data do you have? It's just, a series of basic questions. Honestly, won't take you, more than 15 to 20 minutes to go through the basics of the invention disclosure probably. And it just walks you through. It's an online form. That will then go to the campus. So the campus runs a few checks for conflicts, looks at, if there was funding involved, who and what rights, does the funder potentially have. But at the end of the day, the campus will assign it to UTRF for management. Essentially, that comes to me as the director, and I will assign it to someone on our team who's going to be your point of contact to work with UTRF as long as we're interested in that technology. So your point of contact will be a technology manager. That tech manager will handle the evaluation and the initial go, no-go decision. If they decide to go forward, they'll engage outside patent counsel and work on getting that first patent application filed. They'll also market the technology to potential partners. And hopefully, if we get someone that's interested, they'll negotiate a license and ultimately, work with our compliance folks to make sure that the other side is living up to all the promises that they make in that license. This is the UTRF team here at the Health Science Office in Memphis. As I said, I'm Richard Magid. Handle all sorts of general matters and specifically look at medical devices and entrepreneurial type interests. Lakita Caven and James Parrott are both technology managers and also attorneys in the office. And between them, we have a broad range of scientific disciplines and really can work with just about anything that you've come up with. Again, thank you very much and congratulations.